You're trying to write on. What are you doing?
Sister here?
Dina?
Yeah.
No, she doesn't do well with these things.
Hey folks, you all are pallbearers today. If you could meet me at the back of the verse for some instructions.
So
And then
it's
we're gonna go ahead and start.
December and then. It's my student. They're not sad. They're happy. Did you look up at the website this morning about it? Oh. It's I can wonder about the Uda. It's not bad.
So she said, why? She was a very okay.
She long life,
Hi, Danny. Sorry, Steve. So wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Maybe. You can watch your step as you come out. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to be seated. And if I can remind everyone to please turn off your cell phones for the service. If you guys want to come much closer, you'll be able to hear better. And the family's been seated. There are extra chairs. Please don't be bashful.
Adonai nosan v'Adonai lakach, Yishem Adonai mevarach. Lord has given and Lord has taken away. In God's name be blessed forever. The prophet Isaiah says, Kol omer kara. A voice says, cry out, v'amar mo ekra. And I ask, what shall I cry? What shall I say? And God replies, all flesh is grass, and all its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades. When the wind of the Lord blows upon it, surely people are like grass. The grass withers and the flower fades. But the word of our God shall endure forever. The regular Psalm 91 is not recited today, being that it's Rosh Chodesh. We recite Psalm 16. Michtav leDavid, Shomreni el ki chasisi ba. Amar l'Adonai Adonai ato tavosi balolecha. Nikoshim Hashem ba'aretz hema v'adirek al chefzi bam. Yirvu atzvoisem achem aharu bal esef niskem yidov al esef shmoisem al sefasai. Adonai menaschel ki b'chaisi ato tamich veroli. Chavalim naflu li banimim afnach v'shofra oloi. Avorech es Adonai asher yotzon yafleilos yisiruni chayosai. Shivisi Adonai lenegdi samid kimini bal emoit. Ochein samach libi vayogel kvoidi. Af b'sori yishpein levetach. Ki lo yisazayv nafshi l'shoel. L'sit chasid chaliroi shochas. Kedi eini oirach chayim sevasmoch espenecha. Mi'imois bimin chanetzach. Protect me, O powerful God, for I take refuge in you. Say to God, you are my master with no obligation to benefit me. The holy ones who are in the earth, and for the mighty fulfill your commandments. My desires are fulfilled on account of their merit. May the sorrows of those who hurry to other gods multiply. I will not pour their adulterous blood libations. I will not bear their names on my lips. King David continues, God is my allotted share and lot. You lead me to my destiny. Portions have fallen to me in pleasant places. I find my lot lovely indeed. I bless God for having advised me to choose a good path in life. My conscience admonishes me at night. I am ever mindful that God is in front of me. Because he is by my right hand, I shall never falter. Therefore my heart rejoices, my whole being exults, and my very flesh rests secure. For you will not abandon my soul to the netherworld, nor permit your pious ones to see the pit of destructions. You will teach me the path of life, of everlasting joy in your presence, of eternal delights where you're your right hand. I'd like to ask Rabbi Menachem Siderson to come forward and read Psalm 23.
Mizmor David, Adonai roi lo yachzor. B'nois desha yarbitzeini, al me'meruchai sina haleini. Nafshi yeshoivev yancheni v'magvei tzedek v'mag sheloi. Gam ki elech b'geit salmoves, lo yiroro, ki ata imodi. Shiftecha mishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Tzarech lefonai shulchan neged zoyroi. Shanta v'Hashem en roishi, koisi v'voya. Achtei v'chesed yudefuni, kol yemei chayoi. V'shavti v'veis Adonai, v'yoyrech yimavim. A song of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. God causes me to lie down in lush pastures. God leads me beside tranquil waters. God restores my soul and guides me in righteous paths for God's name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your scepter and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in full view of my adversaries. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days.
There seems a shadow of the day. Her smile no longer cheers. A dimness on the stars at night, like eyes that look through tears. Alone unto our Father's will, one thought has reconciled, that he whose love surpasses ours has taken home his child. Hold her, O Father, in your arms, and let her henceforth be messenger of love between our human hearts and thee. As we come to say farewell to the earthly voyage of Joanne Frame, Chana Bas Moshe Baruch, we are very much reminded that after nearly 100 years on this world, that life is not over. Life is not over. The page in the book turns over to the next chapter. There's a well-known parable in Jewish teaching about twins that are in the mother's womb. They're comfortable, they're warm, they have all the nutrition that they need. And one is a believer and one is a skeptic. And the skeptic says to the other, you know what? We have everything that we need here. We're comfortable, we're nourished, we're warm, we're taken care of. What could be better? Well, there's nothing after this. And the other one says, no, that's not so. What we get in here is only a preparation for what comes afterwards. Fingers that were growing, the eyes that were developing, the feet that we have, those are only meant to serve us in the next life. And they have this argument in the womb. And after being in the womb for 9 months, the first one goes out. The believer comes out first. And the one inside the womb here is crying. The baby's crying and said, I knew I was right. Knew I was right. It's crying. There's nothing out there. And then he hears the screams of Mazel Tov. And he knows that he was wrong. That after life in the womb, as wonderful as it seemed for those twins, there is a life that's even better than the one that was in there and more meaningful. And indeed, what had happened in the womb was only a preparation for the next life. So is it with this world. Not everybody gets to live as long as Joanne did. But whatever she accomplished, whatever she did, the wonderful and beautiful family that she left behind, the legacy that she left behind, the kindnesses that she did throughout her life, the smiles that she brought to people's faces, all those things that she did were only in preparation for the next life, only in preparation for the reward that the soul receives in the world to come. So I'm not going to deliver a eulogy per se, just to say a few things about Joanne, who was born on November 17th, 1925, in the huge Jewish metropolis of Witbank, South Africa, who at its height had 102 Jewish families. Joanne had a brother and a sister. Brother passed away quite a few years ago. The older sister passed away at age 102, fairly recently. And Joanne stated that she wanted to also live to be 102. She didn't quite make it. At the same time, having smoked a pack of cigarettes every day for 70 years, not everything comes out the way you think. There's a lot of mazel and genes involved in it too. She lived to be close to 100 years old. At age 16, she left Witbank and came to Johannesburg. Eventually, at about age 20, she married her husband, Mitchell George, and they had their children in Johannesburg. Originally, Joanne worked as a nursery teacher, but then she became a realtor and helped support the family. And I believe that she worked for many years as in the real estate business with Philippa. When she came to America, She worked in her son's office in Houston. This doesn't say much about her, but really what she left behind was that wherever she went, she was loved, not just by family, but by friends and everybody who knew her. She was charming. I met her a few times, interacted with her a few times, and indeed, she was a charming and special person. Nothing fazed her in life. She was even keel. She went with the flow. She loved to knit clothing for her grandchildren. As in her younger years, she sewed all her daughter's clothing in the younger years. Also in her younger years, she was a child prodigy pianist, won many awards, and was asked to play in many, many concerts. She indeed, yesterday, I must have seen 6 or 7 articles that were sent to me by Dani about different places that she was invited to play as a young girl of 7 and then 9. She indeed was a prodigy. She was kind-hearted. She had a smile for everyone. She was happy wherever she was. And she had to move from one home to another, even though they didn't let her smoke in Shalom Park. She was still happy in her years there. She loved the visits that she had. She loved her family perhaps more than anything else. I'm going to ask the presence of Joanne's children, Philippa and Basil, Minyan and Cyril, so Ilana and Simon, Miss Leslie. Well, not everybody's able to be here, but I ask that unless one of you wants to speak, in just a moment, I will give over the microphone to grandchildren to say some words of memory about their grandmother. I'm going to ask Donnie, Lindy, Martine. I don't know if Keith was a maybe, and Jonathan to please come forward as soon as I'm finished reading this final prayer before their words. We have come together sharing our sorrow to bid farewell to Joanne Frame Chana Bas Moshe Baruch. We recall the blessing of her life. We thank God for all that was good in her life and for the precious memories which shall endure. Eternal God, Creator, merciful Father of all, your children are in grief and they seek light to help them dispel the darkness. Be gracious to those who mourn. They are in distress. Give them that their memories of Joanne's wonderful life and the blessings that she carried remain with them always, not only as a memory, but as a model and an inspiration. Bless them with your compassion. Ease their burden of sorrow. Send them light and peace, for it is written, fear not, I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will sustain you with my power. And let us say, Amen. A woman of valor who can find, her worth is far greater than rubies. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the law of loving kindness is on her tongue. She observes the conduct of her household and does not partake of the bread of idleness. Her children rise and laud her, her husband too, and he praises her. Many daughters have excelled, but you surpass them all. Grace is deceiving and beauty is vain. Unless it is in a God-fearing woman, it is she who should be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her own deeds praise her. Final mention, children, there's no question the way her children over the many years took care of her, doted upon her, and loved her, certainly added many, many years to her life. May God bless you.
My dear Ma, I've dreaded this moment since I was a little girl. I worried what the world would feel like without you in it. For so much of my world was shaped and colored by your calm, your wisdom, and your imagination. On Friday nights, there was no spot more coveted than by your side. Each of us taking turns to snuggle in, exhaling our week and inhaling your indelible scent. Elizabeth Taylor or Youth Dew, you patiently tolerating the smushes and smooches. You taught me how to write, not my ABCs or 1, 2, 3s, but how to communicate my thoughts and ideas. On lazy Sunday afternoons out on your veranda, your skinny, floral, shimmery ballpoint in one hand, a cigarette in the other, you would scribble ideas, scratching out, writing, rewriting, your handwriting as poetic as the ideas it crafted. You gave me your love of dogs and birds and dolphins, trees, flowers, and oceans. You never stopped appreciating nature with absolute wonder and amazement. Once upon a time, you loved to cook and host and open your home to whoever needed a home-cooked meal, a respite from hardship, or a loving place to call home. You always spoke about the power of a mitzvah and the muzzle that each baby brings into this world. An eternal optimist, you never complained or raised your voice. You always offered a balanced, wise, and sensible perspective. You were always a listening ear, albeit closed for business during primetime television. You would simply giggle at my teenage absurdities and neuroses. Oh, Danila, you would chuckle. You looked at each grandchild and great-grandchild with total love and admiration. Look at that twinkle in her eyes, you would say, or isn't he just the most special child, or I can't walk past her picture without smiling at her. There were Saturday night sleepovers and Sunday mornings picking dahlias, makeup and jewelry and Italian fashion boutiques, baking bagels with tiny little loaves of whole wheat bread. We had lunches at Juicy Lucy and pots of coffee with anchovy toast, Disney movie dates and watching My Fair Lady until midnight. There was speeding on bumpy Emerentia roads while you let me change the gears. I had to have been 8 years old at most. There was Saturday morning hairstyling at the Santon Sun and watching you play Fantasia, your fingers dancing along the keys, interrupted only for a quick flip of the page. Your never-ending Mgwezi Road passage with little Lulu the Maltese tugging onto your pant legs. Talk shows and crossword puzzles, postcards, and 7-page AML letters, Selwyn Seagull sausages and mashed potatoes. As a young child, my heart would break every time you left on one of your overseas adventures. I would count down the days until you returned. And when you finally did return, you came bearing tales and trinkets, novelties and memoirs, velveteen rabbits and porcelain dolls, barking puppies and scented sticker pads, flavored lip glosses and the latest comic books. The gift seemed to go on forever. And now, Ma, as you embark on your final journey, with no return as my consolation, I'm left only with the gifts you leave behind. A suitcase filled with a lifetime of memories, your gentle wisdom, your effortless elegance, and your shy, but ever so generous spirit. I will carry them all with me, always.
Story is that Ma got her name after I was born. Being the first grandchild, I was constantly surrounded by my mom and her sisters who were calling her Ma, so I thought that was her name, and so she became Ma. So the story goes. I remember the day we left South Africa, or at least I think I do. Maybe it's just the photograph entrenched in my memory, but the vision is Ma, Jonathan, Nitty, Keith, and me, sitting on the wall of Ma's veranda, arms around each other, Ma in the middle. I'm clutching my doll and wearing a special purse for my trip across the world. I had no idea what lay ahead. I don't think any one of us did, except all. You could see it in her expression. She wasn't smiling in that photo. She was so sad. It's almost impossible to put into words how much I missed her after we left. I had a recurring dream that I would either snap my fingers or fly, and either way I would be back with Ma. I waited all year for our summer visits, and I cried myself to sleep for nights when we got back to Houston, wishing I could be back with her. Over time, the distance became easier. We sent telegrams, we sent tape recordings so we could hear each other's voices because long distance was so expensive. We would go visit South Africa often. Ma would come visit us and stay for a long time. Staying close and connected was a priority for all of us. Some of my most treasured memories of visiting her would be sitting with her while she took a bath, lying in bed with her, taking turns tickling each other's backs, or having her read me the most ridiculous story she could find in the newspaper. Simple moments, but every one more precious than the next. Some people don't like wet kisses, but Ma's were the best. Her signature scent of musk and youth dew. I could never get enough. The news that Ma was coming to America and going to live in Houston was one of the best days ever. It was like a dream come true. I know it was hard on my mom to have the responsibility of having her mother move across the world in her 70s. But my mom integrated her into the Houston community immediately. She was playing bridge and Maj in no time. She drove herself around, went to the gym, smoked like a chimney, read her trashy romance novels, and doted on her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. We all got together, 4 daughters, 3 son-in-laws, 10 of her 11 grandchildren, and 10 of her now 14 great-grandchildren, some weren't even born yet, in Las Vegas to celebrate her 90th birthday. She graced us with her presence for a few meals and a birthday cake moment, but was otherwise at the slots, cigarette in hand, finger on the button, sipping her Diet Coke, the stuff of legend. Ma was the matriarch of our family. How does one even become a matriarch? Now that I think of it, she actually used to tell me her plan. Mother at 22, that's when she had my mom and Philippa. A grandmother at 44, my mom had me at 24, so that was acceptable. And a great-grandmother at 66. I sure messed that up, having Zuri at nearly 38, but Danny pitched in to soften the blow a bit. All this to say that her family, especially her grandchildren and great-grandchildren, were the light of her life. And we all knew it because that's how she made us feel whenever we were around her. I know how lucky I am, how lucky we all are to have had so many years with her. Most people don't have 51 years with a grandparent. Zuri, my son, has had almost 14 full years knowing her. What a gift that is. I suppose it is a grandparent's or great-grandparent's prerogative to love without having to parent at the same time, which creates a beautiful honesty and fluidity to the relationship. I will treasure my memories of Ma and am incredibly grateful that they are cemented in my mind forever.
So as a child, I suffered from a lot of anxiety. And over the years, my mom sent me to speak to a variety of therapists to learn how to cope. Each had me learn a different kind of relaxation exercise, lying down on a couch, on the floor, in a recliner, and picturing somewhere that felt safe and calm. I didn't always picture the exact same place, but I always pictured my mom with me, sitting next to her on the armchair, with my head resting on her chest, sitting on a picnic blanket with her under the weeping willow tree in her garden, and waking up next to her on Saturday or Sunday mornings after sleepovers. And so we go. My relationship with Ma was a key part of my childhood. It was for this reason that when I did some pro bono work for a poetry magazine about 3.5 years ago, and they asked if they could collaborate with me on a poem to thank me for my work, I asked if we could write something for Ma for her 95th birthday. Here is a poem for Ma. I remember tickling your back at 9 at night, beside you in your room, running down your silent skin, a pen, a feather, paper knife, returning to you with my light touch. What love would have me soon to sleep. Then in the morning as you bathed, in bubbles with a cigarette, planning the open coming day, here at Sandton City, Emerentia Dam, then lunch in our secret jungle, your backyard in Boise Road. I remember standing by the fireplace at 12, and you across the lounge, beside your tea set in your brown chair, listening, smiling, nodding, adjusting my every careful tiny truth, the joys and hardships of being a middle parent. I remember at 18 at dawn, you sneaking downstairs from your room at the Braids Road to take a slice of coffee cake, then back upstairs as Granny Dinky stormed and raged around the crimes we left behind, accusing Renette, Danny, and me. We held our tongues for your delight, the naughtiest child in your daughter's house. I remember at 25, smuggling you across the country for Lindy's birthday in New York. You came with us to every bar in the East Village, every meal, entertaining us with spirit, joy, then Monday walking 40 blocks to meet me at my work for lunch, your every footstep saying love. I remember you holding Asher upon your chest on my green couch at 35, for 7 days surrounding his breast, his silent on your loving skin, my tiny sleeping, dreaming twin. Resting where I once was kept, he never cried until you left. But mostly I remember you as you in what I say and do, as how I have somehow become a mother to a rising sun. I feel you running sweet beneath me as I watch and listen, speak. Your voice is my voice as I guide. Your warmth is my warmth when he cries. Your way is my way as we move. And sometimes in my silent truths, I catch a sound from long ago, like Mozart on the radio. I feel your heartbeat rise and fall, playing piano after all. A single loving 8-note sound, drawn from a source and passing down. All you have been, all you will be, running as memory through me.
So I'm Keith. If you're not good with names, you can just refer to me as Ma's favorite grandchild. Growing up in Houston, we were thousands of miles away from our extended family, and I wanted so badly to be closer. Visiting Ma, Zeta, our aunts and uncles, and our cousins. And so almost every summer. It was one of the highlights of my childhood. It was before iPhones and iPads. And seemingly the entire Houston South African community would bring over games and toys and books and pretty much anything they could think of to distract my sister and I from our 20-hour flight. I would always arrive in South Africa with butterflies in my stomach. It seemed like forever since I seen my family. And I imagined how big my cousins were. And I wondered if we'd have as much fun as we did the summer before. And as soon as I saw Ma at the airport, all my nerves evaporated. And I felt like I was home. To a young me, she was everything a grandmother should be. Sophisticated, beautiful, affectionate, attentive. And she had these incredibly soft, kissable cheeks, her distinct perfume, and a slightly grumpy husband. But while I love Ma, we did have some rough patches. I remember one stretch where she kept referring to me as her little fatty. No matter how much I told her I didn't like being called her little fatty, she seemingly couldn't get little fatty off her lips. Well, the little fatty that I was, I remember being so angry with her one particular day. It must have been after a record-breaking number of little fatties. I was crying about it, which was a bit strange because I was 29. No, I was much younger. My mom came to me and found me and settled me down. She told me how much Ma loved me. And she didn't mean anything by it. And I shouldn't expect Ma to change. She was an older person, and at her age, she just wasn't going to change. Looking back, my mom was right. But also, Ma was only 1 year older than I am right now. That's scary. I guess what I'm saying is we should have had more expectations of her. I remember my mom moved to Houston when she was in her 70s and how excited I was. I couldn't believe she was so close. I never took that for granted. I knew how much our entire family loved Ma, so at times I felt like it was my responsibility to give her love on behalf of all my cousins who weren't so lucky. I embraced that responsibility. I kissed her up, and hearing her giggle and yell "Kipi" will always be one of my favorite sounds. I believe she and I had a special connection, and I believe she had a special connection with every one of my cousins. In fact, people she never knew felt connected to her. At my company, every Monday, we update each other on our weekends. I love sharing anecdotes anytime I'd seen Ma over the weekend. My colleagues couldn't get enough of my stories about my grandma who spent her 90th birthday on a cruise, chain smoking and gambling, or who insisted on getting a new car at almost 95 years old because she needed her wheels and had to hit the open roads. To my colleagues, she might as well have been in a biker gang. When she was forced to quit smoking, those are some tough years. There was a stretch there where I felt like I was in an after-school special. I'd pick Ma up, and for the entire ride, I'd be begged to stop for cigarettes. When I refused, she would press me like any addict would. Your dad has brainwashed you. You're a sweet boy. You wouldn't be doing this on your own. Your dad has gotten to you. In my after-school special, I was being bullied by a 97-year-old grandma. If I knew if I wasn't careful, she'd pull me into her underground narcotics world. As my colleagues became more and more connected to Ma, I felt I needed to prepare them for imminent passing. I would tell them how I just saw Ma and how she probably only has a few days left. But that was over 5 years ago. I'm not saying it's all Ma's fault, but my credibility at work has started to suffer. Every time we thought it was our last days, she would pop up and watch Les Mis or Bridgerton and slurp another Frappuccino. My daughters absolutely adore Ma. They always ask about her. And even as her health was failing and her appearance was diminished, they never flinched when visiting her. She could be hanging upside down, strapped to an oxygen tank. It didn't matter to them. They would give her kisses and tell her they loved her. Always remember their little voices saying, "I love you, Ma." I love how she spoiled them. It was also like she shot from a parent sabotage catalog. I never realized how many different shapes choking hazards can come in, or how much glitter can fit on a screeching toy. Eventually, it got to the point that I had to pre-screen Ma's toys, but she never stopped giving them. And her love for my kids was an absolute gift to them and to Amanda and me. Amanda loved Ma, and also Ma loved Amanda. Because I feel like if she didn't, she would have told me. She didn't mince words. Ma, we're lucky to have you in our lives. I will treasure our memories together. Well, I knew this day would come. You definitely gave us ample time to prepare. I was never going to be ready for you to leave. I love you so much. I will give you kisses from down here until we meet again. And when we do, I expect a lot of giggles as I kiss you up. I love you.
I'm going to read a letter from Ma's nephew. Anita was Ma's sister, and this is Anita's son, Peter. Auntie Joe, I was very fortunate to have had two mothers, a loving biological mother and you, my other loving mother. You cared for me as if I were your son. I'm an only child, but I spent countless happy hours in your home with my four sisters, Mignon, Philippa, Leslie, and Ilona. Your catering was legendary. More often than not, I would finish dinner with my mom and dad, jump on my bike and ride over to your house in time for your delicious, decadent desserts. And you never disappointed me. I could never understand why my mom couldn't cook like her younger sister. When Marlene and I met, you welcomed her into our family, and on our wedding day, you insisted on her leaving from your house. That was typical of your caring character. You and my mom were extremely close, and after my dad and Uncle Michael passed away, you lived in the same apartment block. My mom was heartbroken when you immigrated to the United States, but she loved your return visits to South Africa when you stayed with her. Auntie Joan, you left a big hole in our lives, but it is filled with 77 years of wonderful memories and invaluable lessons of the values in life. Marlene and I love and miss you. rest in peace, your loving nephew. I'll just finish with one story that Ma told me one of her visits going back to visit Anita. She wanted to stick to one of her routines, which was going to the Norwood hypermarket. So she asked Anita if she could borrow her car. And she went to the Norwood hypermarket, did all the shopping, and was going to come back to Anita's house, which is in the same apartment building where she used to live. And then, for those of you who know South Africa, there was someone who would bag your groceries for you and help you take them to the car. And the nice young gentleman said, "Okay, where is your car?" She said, "I'm not sure where I parked it." He said, "That's no problem. What kind of car is it?" She said, "I don't know." He said, "Well, what color is your car?" He said, "I don't know." So they walked around the parking lot trying the key in all the cars until they found the car. His mom wasn't much paying attention to that. Anyway, that's one of the memories that I chuckle to when I think of mom.
Grateful to all of you for your beautiful words of remembrance. Dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns unto God who gave it. The soul of Chanebas Moshe Baruch be bound up in the bonds of life eternal. Send comfort, O Lord, to those who mourn. Grant strength to those whose burden is sorrow. O merciful Father, our refuge and our Redeemer. And let us respond, Amen. Stand up and give prayer. Recite the blessing, acknowledging God as the judge of truth. His decision at this time to take Joanne, may her memory be a blessing and an inspiration for all of us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam dayan ha'emet. Son, but love is not the shame. Love God is giving, God is taking. God be blessed forever. Joanne, kind of everything that we have done for you today and everything that's been done for you for the moment of your passing was only done for your honor, love for you, for your dignity. We try to do with the Kadisha and everybody else according to what we are required by Jewish law to do. If somehow, for some reason, we did something that was wrong or inappropriate or not according to the honor and dignity you deserve, on behalf of everybody who's been involved and all of us here, we ask you for forgiveness. May you come before the heavenly throne and be a good defender for your family. Bring good things to them. Watch over them. If anybody would like to join, please.
Anywhere out to start.
It's not joking. She used to show up. She used to smoke us away. She used to kiss us so much. She used to be like, enough, I'm gonna have to go shower. She smells so good. What's this on?
Break the rules here.
She lives in the shopping. She broke in. She moved in. She's like, nope, going to my place. Come on, I live with this. He's like, say that. My other grandmother would have loved for us to say that. Say that.
It's quite the lady. I had a lot of things I didn't know.
Yeah. My mom always said she parented very differently than she grandparented. So she was definitely like my mom's best friend, but at the same playfulness and like mischievousness that she had with the grandkids. She was very playful.
So fortunate. She got to watch
Yeah. She loved
Being that it's Rosh Chodesh, we don't say the Kamala Memorial Prayer. We recite one more Psalm 121, followed by Kaddish, morning's Kaddish. Shir Lamalois, Esoina Lahari Me'ayin Yovoy Ezri Me'im Adonai Yosei Shamayim Ba'aretz Al Yitei Lamoit Dagva Chayonum Shem Recha Hinei Lo Yonum V'Lo Yishon Shemei Yisrael Adonai Shem Recha Adonai Tzilucha Yad Yiminecha Yoimam HaShemesh Lo Yakech Of Yorech V'Loila Adonai Yishmarcha Mikol Ra Yishmar Es Nafshecha Adonai Yishmar Tzeisecha V'Yecha Me'atzav Yad Olam. King David writes, I will lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? The source of my help is God, creator of heaven and earth. He will not let you falter. Your guardian does not slumber. Surely the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. He is at your right hand to protect you. The Lord your keeper gives shelter. The sun will not smite you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. The Lord will preserve your soul. He will guard your going and coming from this time and forever. And I recite the morning's Kaddish. Amen. Amen. Yehei Shemei Radom Vorach Olam Omeo Maya Vorach. Bericho. Amen. 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 In the name of the family of Joanne Frame and in the presence of her dear family, her children, her grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and friends, we remember the specialness of her life with love and with respect. May her soul be bound up in the bonds of life eternal. Almighty God, eternal creator, we are thankful for the life of Joanne Frame, Chana Bas Moshe Baruch, for the years which she was granted, and for the privilege of having shared those years. May the memory of her devotion to family and friends and her tremendous love for them, in memory of her goodness, gentleness, and thoughtfulness, her warmth and friendship, her integrity and dedication, her patience and courage under affliction, her loyalty to the tradition of our people, continue to inspire us, that we may live a better life. O Lord, help all who mourn Joanne Frame, honor her memory through their daily lives. Comfort them, grant them strength, for you are our rock and redeemer. Amen. The family will be sitting Shiva at Basil and Philippa's home, 7256 East Arsher Place. I don't have all the details of the Shiva here. Today will be 3 until 6:15, followed by Mincha Marv service. Tomorrow, 3 to 8, also 6:15 Mincha Marv. The rest of the schedule will be sent out by different organizations via email. They may already be in your email box, I don't know. This concludes the service. We would just ask everybody to please, over here, make 2 rows, and the mourners will go around that grave over there and then walk through where we can offer our words of condolences. 2 lines, Jason, will right there.